Thank you for joining us on Salt and Pepper Unleashed. This ain't your grandma's nursing home. Every life is a story filled with moments of joy, challenge, love, and discovery. At Greenwood Village South, a very special group of residents has been turning those moments into something lasting, their memoirs. In today's episode, we're sitting down with members of the Memoir Writing Group, a circle of storytellers who meet to share memories, laughter, and sometimes a few tears as they reflect on the journeys that shaped them. We'll talk about what inspired them to start writing, what they've learned along the way, and why preserving their stories matters, not just for themselves, but for the generations who will follow them. So, settle in and enjoy this beautiful conversation about memory, meaning, and the power of putting your story into words. We're joined today by Elouise Majeske and Janet Miller. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right, you ready to buckle in and rock and roll? All right, so let's get it started. And Elouise, we're just going to start with you because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you were the first member of the Memoir Group.
Yes,
I
was.
So what piqued your interest, and how did you actually get started with it?
I think it started with my early childhood. I grew up on a farm in West Virginia that my great-grandfather purchased when he returned from the Civil War.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, we got some history here.
And so I learned right away that great-grandpa Will, he planted the pear trees, he planted the apple trees, and then he raised probably 15 kids there, And so I grew up there. And then when my kids left home, I studied ancestry.
Okay.
And then that gave me more interest into my background. My great-grandfather also started a church, and he only had 59 cents in his pocket, and he asked all his neighbors to bring a board or whatever you have in your garage. And they built a church, and that church still stands.
No kidding. Oh, my God. Now, what year was that?
Oh, my goodness. That's a hard
Putting
question.
you on the spot here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. A long time ago.
A long time ago. But the church is still there, but not active. It's for sale if you want to buy a church.
Okay.
I saw it a couple weekends ago when I went back to West Virginia. And then after ancestry, and my husband passed away, I moved to Greenwood Village. And I didn't know anyone here. So I went to the library one day, and I got a copy of Dolly Parton's memoir. And I read that, and it's the most funny, risque book I've ever read in my life.
And you were like, this is me.
I'm
this
like,
is my life.
If she can write a book, I can write
There
a book.
you go. Okay.
Yeah. What she got, I don't got. So anyhow, and all those kind of have rolled into my being. And also when I was in junior high school, my one of my teachers, and I remember her name, was Mrs. Schaefer. She asked us to write an autobiography, and I got an A- on it. I wrote about my dad's death and all this stuff, and that is in my keepsakes, and so I still have that. And so all of that made me write my memoir. But Dolly pushed me. She pushed me through it.
So all of those stories were kind of the foundation, but she was the straw.
Pusher. I was like, if she can do it, I can do it.
So I'm curious. I'm gonna put you on the spot, and I don't know if was it Miss Schaefer? Is that what he's? I don't know how what kind of feedback she provided, but I'm curious. Why an A-? What did she critique you on?
My spelling.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It was my spelling, not my story.
Okay. So A+ on the story, but got docked a little bit for spelling. That's pretty good. It is your story after all.
Right.
So really it was just knowing, I mean, because you knew you had such a rich history.
Right.
Within your family and in your past generations. And then kind of Dolly putting you over the starting line, or I guess
Well,
pushing you
there
over
were other things too, like COVID came along, and my kids and my grandkids and my great-grandkids, they were having trouble adjusting. No more friends, no more school, no more work, no more this, no more that. And so I thought, well, I need them to know about the strong people and their past, that they can be strong too because they have that past.
And that's, oh boy, I just got some chills right there, because thinking about what we perceive as challenges in today's world
Right.
versus
What
some real challenges are in other parts of the world today, but also what some real challenges really were for great grandpa Will. Thinking about coming back from the Civil War, starting a farm, building a church, not much change to rub together in his own pocket. I mean,
Yeah, he was.
those are challenges.
He was 15 when he went to the Civil War. He went with his brother, who was 17, and they came back together without a cell phone. How did they do that?
Oh my goodness, that's wild.
Yeah, they both came back and bought a farm.
Now, when you say you started looking into your ancestry, did you utilize some of the kind of the online resources, or did you do it the old-fashioned way, looking through, grandma's picture albums and different things like that?
No, it was Ancestry. I searched.
So then I'm curious, how far back did you get?
Oh, I tell you, my the Lewis family, which is my dad's family, I didn't know much about them because they were not so much in our life, not like my mom's family was. And I went and met a cousin, and she was in Alabama, and her husband had researched and went back to 1861 when they left England. And so he sent me all that, and I even found my name on it that he had researched that far. Yes.
Oh my goodness, that's pretty cool. When you're able to start, I mean, at that point you're able to pull both sides together, and really, I mean, it's like a treasure trove of information,
right?
Because now it's like, wow, all these dots are starting to connect.
Yeah, and I found out that my mom's family came from Ireland, actually. And they came over on a ship that they didn't go through the New York like so many say. They came through Roanoke, and I think possibly that's why we ended up in West Virginia.
Okay.
They came through Roanoke, and the captain of the ship was also a Curry. That was my mom's last name.
Okay. So I wonder if there was a lot of familial ties with the members, or I guess the individuals that came on that specific trip. Would that make sense?
Yes, that would be how my great grandpa came.
Great grandpa.
The four.
Oh my goodness! So we're talking great grandpa, dad, you.
Yeah.
And then past Elouise, what's the generations look like?
Okay, I have 3 daughters and
7 generations,
and 7 grandchildren and 11 great grands.
9 generations. 9 generations. How old is your oldest great grandchild?
My oldest.
I'm really putting you on the spot.
You are. I think he's 43.
43? Great grandchild 43?
No, not great. Okay, my greatest. That would be Jackson. Jackson is 11.
Okay. So hopefully he's not producing the next generation anytime soon.
Let's hope not.
But
no,
to think 9 generations that you can account for yourself, that is so...
It makes me a matriarch, right?
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Oh my goodness, we could really dig into this, but we do have another guest on the show.
We do. Yeah,
Janet. So we're gonna turn to you. So I'm curious, what inspired you to start writing, and then kind of a little bit different question, and this could kind of tie in for both of you. How do you choose which stories to tell through your writing? Because I'm sure there's plenty that are intentionally not told through the memoir group versus others that are.
Well, my mother was a big journaler, and but mostly what she wrote about was the weather. I grew up on a small farm, and how much they canned that day, and what the temperature was, that kind of thing. But when I was probably in my 30s, I found this little book that says, "Share Your Life with Me, Mom." And it had questions in it that I thought, I don't know a lot about my mom's childhood. She grew up during the wartime. I remember her telling stories about rationing, and she was 18 when she married. She was married on Valentine's Day, and she turned 18 February 1st. So she was a very young bride, and she told all these stories about how she went from being a city girl to learning how to wring a chicken's neck and how to make pies and cook and garden because they lived with my dad's mother. She was a widow, and he was actually the breadwinner. He was farming, though he was still in high school.
Oh, my goodness.
So he got a deferment to be in the service. He also had some kind of a lung condition. So she would tell stories about, they would meet and roll bandages and some of the things that they would do as kids. They'd go to the funeral home and buy scraps from fabric, velvet, where they made the caskets, and they used those to make doll clothes.
Really?
Yes, and how they'd go to the theater, and it would be 25 cents up to a certain age, and then it would be more. How their mother would give them money every spring to go buy flowers, and then they had to learn to take care of them, water them, deadhead them. And just so many interesting stories that I thought I need to preserve some of my stories, because I had some very interesting stories growing up on a farm. My dad was a big hunter, and I learned how to skin squirrels, pheasants, clean fish. We had a lot of orphaned animals. When my dad went hunting, we had a raccoon, and we had a crow, a fox.
Really?
It was an interesting childhood, and I know the work ethic I learned was awesome, but it was so different from what my children grew up with. They have no idea what it was like living on the farm. We had everything: cows, pigs, chickens, geese. I gathered eggs, and I called the cows in and the pigs. I have certain calls, I could tell you.
We might have to tap on your shoulder here at the end of the show to get a few examples.
But I thought it would be really great if my children could hear these stories. And plus, my cousin was big into genealogy. My mother came from, her name was Groendijk, and her family came from the Netherlands. And she said she didn't know if they came here for religious freedom or just for a better life. But they came to New Amsterdam, which was New York, and eventually took covered wagons and ended up in Indiana. So my cousin gave me a bunch of pictures, and my mom was very good at pictures, and I ended up taking pictures of the pictures and recording them in a book about the Groendijks.
Oh, wow.
And it goes back to her great-great-grandparents.
Your mother's great-great-grandparents?
Yes. I have pictures, and I have so many stories.
1808, 1818, just looking at some of the...
Yeah. And so I recorded stories with the pictures. And
wow, you were a professional memoir.
She was, yes.
Well, I didn't want these. My grandmother, who I never knew, she died of cancer early on. Look at that. It looks like she's carrying a bunch of weeds.
Wow. She failed the taking care of the flowers, buying the seeds and taking care of the flowers her first time around. And if you're okay, I think we'll snag some photos of this and kind of put them into this episode. But that is, I mean, that's another level. Did you have any help doing that? Or was this all just learning as you go?
My mom had written several stories, and she was still alive. Her younger sister lived to be, I think, 97. Okay. And she recently died, she shared a lot of the stories with me. And then, of course, my cousin, who was in Tennessee, also had pictures and stories. So,
and I saw one of the pages you flipped to in there, one of the ages of the individuals was 93. And so you got some longevity in your family, it seems like, as well.
Yes.
Okay. Now, so, gosh, we could just really go down some rabbit holes here, which I think is awesome. But have you shared, or to what extent have you shared the answers in that book with your children?
Well, I had a book made for them.
Okay. All right.
And my granddaughter recently called me. She's a junior in high school.
Okay.
And they were working on genealogy. And she'd never really looked at this book. She called me and said, "Grandma, I cannot believe this is really cool," So she was able to garner a lot of information from this book for her genealogy course she was doing.
Now that's just, and the reason I ask that is when I think of memoirs, yes, part of it is for you, and part of it's for your loved ones, but more so than your children. I mean, it's the generations removed that I think it's the most powerful for. And hearing both of you talk just about kind of the challenges growing up and the lives that you lived. I think they say it's essentially 4 generations that, and I'm going to butcher this, and so hopefully we can edit in the appropriate quote, but it's something along the lines of tough times create great men, great men create great times create weak men create hard times create great men. And so it's 4 generations. And so every 5th generation, it goes back to the hardworking, just no matter what, I'm going to face whatever the world gives me and lean into it. But that 4th generation, it's the weak generation that creates the tough times. And sometimes I wonder, which phase are we in? And when we look back at history, I think we can kind of deduce where we are in that. But that aside, hearing both of your perspectives is very interesting because Elouise, when I hear you, it's kind of that 30,000 foot view, zooming out and looking at things. But then Janet, you're looking at, again with your mother, the day-to-day journaling, and it's almost like you're in her shoes living that life as you're reading, whereas you're looking at more the big pictures and really the major takeaways. And I think just knowing that it can be that full spectrum and anywhere in between is really neat. And I think that could kind of be maybe motivation to let folks know that this is for anyone. And it doesn't have to be, I mean, you've taken it to the nth degree, and doing that on your own is just, I mean, we've got to share some pictures. I mean, that's so neat. And I'm thinking about just kind of that gift that could be for the generations and generations to come. But so wildly interesting. So, for both of you here, what do you feel is the hardest part about writing some of these memories? And then kind of, opposite of that, what's the most rewarding? And maybe they could be one and the same. So most challenging.
Remembering.
And here I am putting you on the spot, asking you for numbers. Yeah.
I agree totally because
Yeah.
I even put I have my stories in a book, and on the front page I said, "These are from my memory, and they may not be."
Yeah.
Because my brother read one of them. He said, "That's not the way I remembered it."
Yeah.
So yeah, remembering, but also it kind of sparks memories you've forgotten about.
Yeah. And like she and I have been in memoir together, but I didn't know that history about your mother and that kind of thing. That's the life I lived.
I was going to say, I mean, hearing both of you
Yeah.
talk, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of commonalities
and the
there.
hills of West Virginia,
Yeah.
not the beautiful mountains, but the hills up and down. Yeah.
That's pretty neat. And then in kind of I guess it could be one and the same, though. It's almost like this chain reaction of memories. It's one sparks the next, that
Right.
sparks the next. That maybe you get to one that's 5 memories removed, but that you would have never thought of if you hadn't kind of intentionally gone down that path.
Being in memory class and hearing the other women discuss some of their memories will just, it will
Yeah,
spark
somebody
a
will
memory
mention a big snowstorm, and then everybody takes off on it.
And like you said, though, I wonder how many it's the same snowstorm,
It
but they
is.
lived on the opposite sides of town
That's
or
right.
whatever it was, and their recollection of it is at least slightly, if not mildly to moderately different
Right.
than the
That's
next.
the advantage of talking to people.
And that I think is kind of a subtlety of the memoir group and just the kind of the act of recalling memories, and whether it's writing them down, sharing them with others, is just that connection and the relatability. I always say, and we have new hire orientation every 2 weeks here at Greenwood Village South, and I always share with folks, you have so much more in common with each other than what you realize, would assume, or even give credit for when prompted. But when you actually take the time and intentionally sit down and start conversing with someone in a meaningful way, you do start to these connections. And oh my goodness, like that. I mean, just hearing the both of you talk about your childhood, I mean,
Right.
this is probably going to spark conversations outside of this that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
At the time, I thought, I had cousins that lived in town and rode their bikes and went to the swimming pool. We were on the farm. We were working all the time, gathering the eggs and whatever. And I thought, gosh, but I look back now and you can't trade that upbringing. I wish my children would have been able to experience, playing in the haymow, finding baby kittens.
Yes.
It's just different. And it was hard, but it was good.
And now we've got, like you said, cell phones, and you don't have to go to the funeral home to get the fabric. You've got Amazon. And, I mean, life is just easy.
Yeah.
Too easy.
In a lot of ways. So yeah, just very different. All the more reason to kind of share memories and perspectives. And
I often wonder what the kids today, what will he think about when he's my age?
Yeah.
I remember polio and all those.
And again, things that we just take for
Telephones.
granted, and I asked, and this is probably going to hit some of our listeners and viewers and others not, but we've had smartphones for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, to think you've
lived
lived smartphones, flip phones, box phones, bag phones, whatever you want to call them, to the cordless phones that lived on a base, to the corded phones that had you could only go so far
Party
with,
lines.
to rotary phones, and
Party lines.
and pay phones, and I mean,
Yeah.
we're not so far removed from some of those things, but boy, we kind of are.
Yeah.
I've told my grandkids about the telephone we had on the wall. And It was
Yeah.
a party line, and we had a Mrs. Kirkpatrick was one of our neighbors, and everybody could listen in on the party line. Our ring was 2 longs and a short, and we answer the phone, and my dad, he could tell, click, that Mrs. Kirkpatrick was on the line listening, and he'd say, "Edna, get off the phone.
Oh my goodness.
But when Jim and
That's
I were
hilarious.
dating, you know, we once a week we arranged it at, I think it was Friday at a certain time. We had one telephone in our dormitory that everybody shared, and we would plan to call each other at that time, and we couldn't talk too long because it was expensive. And that's just, you know, they think, what?
Again, so many things that we take for granted, and so many, like you said, growing up, you look at that and you're like, oh, you know, this isn't fair, this isn't fun. But then looking back, you wouldn't be who you are without that life, without those memories.
I do have one more thing. My dad's job was to hang the electric wires over the mountains in West Virginia. And so I remember when we had gas light in our house.
Yeah.
The little mantles that they had to light so that we'd have light at night. And that is one thing that I wish I could remember better. I don't know whether I thought my dad was just magic and that happened.
Yeah.
You know, why don't I remember the day the light, the electricity come on?
You know, that's interesting though. But I think back to, you think about just my life and just last Christmas was the first Christmas that our kids knew for sure. Wink, wink. We'll leave it at that in case we've got some younger listeners. But you know, I'm trying to think, like, it wasn't a light switch that came on that made them realize that. You know, there's these questions and these doubts, and is it real? Is it magic? Is it? And so I doubt there was ever any one moment or instant. But to that point, just thinking back, and you know, what were your thoughts back then, and how did you perceive? Because everything that you're talking about is how you perceive it. You know, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago today, but is that how you processed and perceived it then? Probably not.
It was just magical.
Yeah. Interesting to kind of think about the complexities and the layers of it in that sense, though. So it sounds like we've got two professionals here. I'm pretty sure we would kind of hang both of your hats on that hook. But for someone that's maybe thought about that and thought, oh, that would be neat, but that's not me, or I couldn't do that. What advice would you give folks that, you know, maybe want to start to some extent, but you know, they still need to find that Dolly Parton memoir book in the library? Yes. How could you be the Dolly Parton memoir book right now if you had some advice to give folks?
I think with the internet, the people today have an advantage over me.
Absolutely.
Back on the farm in West Virginia. And to journal and ask questions. I think if you'd interview most anyone our age, they would say, oh, I wish I'd asked my dad that. You know, talk to your people.
There's so many ways now that make it easy, I think, to do memoirs. I mean, you can get little books at the bookstore or on Amazon that give you questions, or you could even Google questions to ask that I can write about. But if you are good at computers, I think it's great to combine pictures with the stories. I just took pictures of the picture on my phone so I could download it I use Shutterfly. But there's also, I think it's called Storyworth, is that it?
Yes.
It's a company that provides a question every week, and you can write about it, and then at the end of the year, after 52 weeks, they will publish it into a book.
Wow.
But I think one of the easiest ways is to record. I recorded my mom before she got Alzheimer's, and I am so grateful I did that because I hear her voice and her laugh.
Yeah. Oh.
And, I just asked her questions about what it was like growing up in Crawfordsville, Indiana as a young girl, and about the war times, about how she met my dad. And there are things that would be lost to me if she hadn't recorded them here, or if I had not recorded her.
I think about the depth of those stories, like you said, seeing and hearing, bringing actual life to the words. It's got to be almost magical, I would imagine.
You can just do it on your phone or on the computer. I did it with a tape recorder because it was a long time ago. But I think that would be easy. Just tell your kids what are some questions you want to ask to me? And let's do a little interview. I want to share some things that you might not know anything about, my early life or my career, my friends, just all kinds of things.
So from the sounds of it, so one, and I think both of you are alluding to this, one, there are so many resources out there that really make it quite easy. But two, it sounds like get started. Somehow get started.
Yeah.
And I feel like almost just like a conversation, the way it kind of flows and develops. Once you get started, the rest kind of carries you. And I would imagine once you got into it,
Yes.
it didn't take a lot of motivation. I bet there were nights where you went to sleep thinking about it. There were mornings where you woke up just anxious to get your hands on those picture album and the photo albums and different things.
And you start reaching out to cousins.
Yeah.
And I have kind of an urgency. I mean, we're no spring chickens.
Yeah.
And our memories fade as we get older. And so I want to put these memories down before they're lost to me.
Yeah.
And they will be someday.
Let
I'm sure.
alone children, grandchildren, etc.
Yes.
Yeah. Elouise, I saw you grabbed something over there.
Yes.
You've got me curious.
I don't have a book like she has, but I made this for each one of my 3 children and included pictures, and you'll find maybe not Will's. Yeah, Will is in there. But the church is in there, and
we got some original.
yes.
Wow. This is incredible. So
That was my mom's handwriting, is why I kept that.
I'm looking for some dates on this. What is this? Account.
I don't know what you're looking at, the barn raising?
No, this is a bill of some kind. Is this your electric bill? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, kilowatts.
Uh-huh. How much is it?
used. Are you ready, folks? I'm trying to look for a year to give some reference. Is this 1985? 30 years ago? $21.77.
And that was probably expensive.
That was 331 kilowatts used in that month. And so I have a feeling we'll have some listeners out there that'll do the math and realize, wait a minute, I'm paying a lot more per kilowatt hour than they did back in even 1985. Oh wow!
Now, my
we'll share some of these pictures as well if you don't mind. But this
No.
is incredible.
So I wanted each one of my 3 kids to have those pictures. So that right
wow.
there where your hand
Is this?
that is where my grandpa, not my great-grandpa, but his son, my grandfather, raised his children. It was a 3-room house. 3-room house, not a 3-bedroom.
3-room. Yeah.
There was like
it's a door and 2 windows.
6 people lived there.
Oh my goodness. Is this?
It is.
I mean, this is in West Virginia, I assume. I mean,
and they put the boards over a log cabin. Is what it. Really
I mean, it really looks like the hills of West Virginia.
And that's my grandfather.
This
He
is
was written up in the newspaper because he had, read the newspaper for 80 years or whatever.
so. This is the second generation.
I think
right?
if you look in that manila envelope in there, you'll see the newspaper articles in it.
Oh my goodness, this memory to be able to share. So you did this for your children.
I did.
So when you gave this to them, this was Christmas of 2011. So this is 14 years ago. You
Yes.
gave this to them. What was their? Did they know that you were doing this?
No, they did not.
And what was their?
I gave it to them at Christmas, and they didn't do anything else after that except look at it.
Well, yeah, I mean, what presents? I mean,
right, yeah.
other than the food, I think
Yeah.
I'd be buried in this.
And so that's why I think it's always been a trigger in my mind to do more.
That's so awesome. So, what's your hope when you're doing this? Whether it's other readers or, I mean, mostly family and friends, but what do you hope they get from you sharing your memories? What do you hope they take away from something like this? Because to me, this is more than just the stories, the individual stories, and this is kind of I mean, you want to talk about a gift of compiling and really packaging your history, your mother's history, their lives. So what do you hope they take away from that?
Well, for me, is strength, because I think they need it. And I'll tell you a story. I always think about my great-grandkids. Some of them grew up in Michigan until they were in junior high, and they did not teach them cursive writing.
Really?
Yes. And so when they came to Indiana to live with their dad, they knew no cursive. But I didn't know this. And I was thinking about what a rough time they were having, because it was during COVID and they couldn't see their friends and they couldn't go, they couldn't do anything. They couldn't go to a store. They couldn't do anything. So I decided I would write them a love note, a love letter from Grandma.
I know where this is going.
No, you don't.
Okay, all right. All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so I wrote them all a love note, and I thought it's not enough to say, I love you, Grandma.
Yeah.
I thought, I want to tell them why. I love you because you're a good brother. You help your mother, whatever. This one, the oldest one, did not get along with his stepmom, so he had gone to live with my daughter. And so I mailed his card. His name was Robbie. And I called my daughter and I said, I sent Robbie a love letter and it should come in the mail today. And she said, okay, I'll see that he goes to the to the box. And so he brought it in and he said, Grandma, this has my name on it. And she said, yeah, let me see that. And she said, this is from Grandma Elouise. And she said, open it and read it to me. Let me know what she said. And he opened it and he said, I can't read it. She had to read his letter.
Yeah. That's, again, kind of think about. So
Makes me cry.
So you say what you want to, just the strength. I mean, again, so many levels removed that we just take something like that for granted. But
Yeah.
So, yeah, if they can look back on this and think, well, we have it hard, or, this is difficult, and looking back at, wringing chickens' necks and,
Right.
and calling the pigs and, all the chores that come with
Yeah. And
truly hard lives.
And last year, his sister came to live with my daughter, and she said, Grandma, I want you to teach me to cook, and I want you to teach me cursive.
Oh, wow. That's powerful. That's very powerful. What about you, Janet? What do you hope?
Well, I think I want them to know that our family started out as immigrants. They didn't come from here. And they had to work really, really hard. I mean, they were farmers and they had to clear the land of trees and with, rudimentary tools and such. And they worked hard to increase their acreage and the amount of acres. And yet, I know there was one thing. It was one of my ancestors had died, and someone wrote something about them that he left this world a better place than when he came, and that they were strong people. They were religious people. They took care of each other when My mother's mother died, and her grandmother came and lived with them to help raise them because the father had left. I mean, there were hardships, but they overcame them, and they should be thankful for the lives they have because of their ancestors, I think.
Right. Exactly.
So what I'm taking, I've just got some keywords here, and you tell me if I've encapsulated your response as well. But strength, perseverance, faith, gratitude,
Hope.
hope. That's another good one. Boy, we could. All right, we got to lighten this up a little bit because we're getting real deep over here. Because we could really peel back the layers if we wanted to.
Yeah.
So let me ask a different question.
Okay.
And who knows, we may just get a little bit deeper on this question.
Oh, no.
What story or moment still makes you smile every time you think about it or tell that story?
My story I was telling you about. Well, it's a story. My mom had Alzheimer's. I was going to read it, but I'll just tell it to you. And I was visiting. I didn't live that close. I was visiting, and we had gone to Crawfordsville, and that's where my mother grew up. And it just came to me. I said, "Mom, would you like to see your childhood home?" And she said, "Yes." And I thought, "Oh no, I don't know where it's at. I haven't been here forever." I said, "Mom, do you know the address?" Long-term memory kicked in.
Goodness.
617 North Pike. So I put it in my GPS, and I drove to the home, beautiful home near Wabash College. My mom actually said they used to go through the campus to see if they saw any cute boys.
Oh.
But anyway, we sat in front of the house, and she just opened up.
Yeah.
She said, "Oh, there's the flagpole where Jimmy," that's her brother, "and my dad would get the flag out of the attic every year."
Oh.
And I wanted to do that, but Jimmy and Daddy did that. And we had hydrangeas there. I had my first kiss over there behind the Chase Lounge, and it just hit me. I have to go inside, check to see if she can see the inside of the house. So I decided to go to the front door and ask if we could go inside, if my mother could see her childhood home. They were so gracious. The woman was a teacher. Her mother was with her, and they were cleaning house. And she said, "Well, we're cleaning house, but if you don't mind, sure, you can come in." So the minute we opened the door, my mother, she just opened up, just like she did, talking about the outside of the house. She noticed the radiator was in a different place. The grand piano was in a different place. There was a corner cabinet, and she said, "Well, that's where Daddy kept his guns. And that drawer was mine. That drawer was my sister Jean's, and that drawer was my brother Jimmy's." You can't describe the feeling I felt, that I felt like I had my mother back. And then I noticed on the table there was a pencil etching of the house. It looked to be the house, and so I asked the owner, "Is this house?" And she said, "Yes, it is. My neighbor did this. Isn't it nice?" I said, "Oh, it is. Do you possibly have a copy machine that I could get a copy of it?" And she said, "Well, yes, I do." So she made a copy, and we headed home. And I was so excited to have Mom tell Dad where we'd been. We came in, and I said, "Mom, tell Dad where we just were." And she had a blank expression, a flat expression. It was all totally gone. I gave her the picture of the home, and I said, "Show this to Dad." And she looked at it like, where in the heck is this? So it was really sad, but I felt like from the Bible, seek and ye shall find. Ask and the door will be open to you, or knock and the door will be open to you. It was a God thing, and it was a blessing to me because my mom passed away shortly afterwards, not from Alzheimer's, but I think a pulmonary embolism. But we were able to see that home, and then years later, my aunt in her 90s, we were able to go back to the home and show her childhood home, and it was a surprise that she was just so excited about. So there are really good people in this world that allowed for a wonderful thing for me as well as my mom.
Well, and just one, I'm thinking about the kind of the courage that it takes anyone to go to a stranger's house, knock on the door, and say, "Hey, this is who I am, and this is who this person with me is, and can we come into your home?" And someone being so gracious. One, the kind of that first step of the kind of the bravery, the courage, and then the graciousness, and then I don't know, just like you said, it's the God thing of everything coming together, and you having that memory that is literally priceless. I would imagine you wouldn't trade that for anything in the world, because that's something that you have probably cherished so many times since
She
then.
was talking very little at that point. You couldn't really have a good conversation, and it was a true blessing.
Wow. That is a great story. And like I kind of alluded to, you can kind of take that with a lot of different emotions. I mean, the glimmer in your eye as you tell that story, I can already kind of gauge the power that it has. But along with the smiling and kind of the fond recollection, I mean, it's tough too, I could imagine. And so, like I said, this is, I don't think there's any one way to describe how to go about this, or how to, or to direct someone to navigate this process. But I think, like we said, just start. I would imagine you both are extremely grateful that you've put the time and the energy and the effort in to what you've been able to kind of create and recreate, and the stories you've been able to document. And so with that being said, I'm going to put you really on the spot.
No.
And you can change this at any point in the future, but right now, to close out this show, I've got two questions. The first one is, if your life were a book, what would the title be?
I already know.
I do too.
Oh, okay. We've got some confident. All right,
ahead,
Elouise,
Elouise.
let's hear it.
A memory is a story you tell yourself. It may not rely on the facts.
Oh,
That's how two people can go to a movie and see different
yes.
things.
Yes. And we've already kind of alluded to that. It's
And
like,
so when my kids read my memoir, they didn't think they were in it enough, but it wasn't about them. But it wasn't about
Oh, my
them. It was about
goodness.
me and my thoughts
Yeah.
and my feelings. So,
well, Mom, what about
Yeah,
me?
what about me?
I was there when that happened.
yeah,
And like you mentioned your brother, that's not how it went.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so again, one more time.
A memory is a story you tell yourself. It may not rely on the facts.
Oh, wow. That is powerful. That is powerful.
Yeah.
Oh, Elouise, that's a keeper. I wouldn't change that.
Okay.
I wouldn't change that. Jana, that's a hard one to follow.
Oh, I know. But I actually wrote a story about a glass half full, and I've always tried to make that my personality. So I would name mine Half Full, Finding Joy in Every Season.
That's awesome.
And I have a feeling when you say season, you're not talking about fall and spring, are you?
I'm in the winter.
Half full, finding joy in every season. How long have both of you known? I mean, because that's not a standard question that one would ask or be asked, but you've both responded quite confidently.
Yeah, I named mine a few months back.
Okay.
Yeah. So I knew.
I had a prompt to think about it.
Okay. Those are both very powerful. All right, so now I've got another powerful question. This is my favorite question. It's become the signature question. So if you could be remembered for one thing in your lifetime, what would it be and why?
I would say honesty and strength.
And so now Elouise, I can speak to one of those. That's the strength, because we've kind of talked about this multiple times, referencing back to, kind of the stories and kind of the generational changes, and wholeheartedly, you have embodied that one. But I think you just kind of put a question mark on the first one, the honesty thing, because your story, you're just saying this is my perspective.
That's my privilege to be wrong.
It sure is. Oh my goodness, it sure is. Oh, I love that. Honesty and strength. Janet, what about you?
I hope I'm remembered as being kind and compassionate and seeing the best in others and trying to model Christ's walk.
Very good.
Hard thing to do.
Janet, how long have you lived at Greenwood Village South?
A year and a half.
A year and a half. I would say over the last 18 months. And so my personal exposure to you is limited to that 18 months and change. Mm-hmm. And if that's all I have to go off of, you're doing a, pardon my French, damn good job at all of those things. So kudos to you, because you are all of those things and then some. So keep it up.
You're too kind.
Keep it up. Ladies, as sad as it is to say, I think we've got to wrap this up. But
I hope they come. More people will come to memoir class, because it is an awesome group. It's small, but I think they'd really be enriched by
and I think maybe we can use this episode as a catalyst to kind of expose folks to what it is and what it could be as well. So hopefully this is more than just entertainment, and this is a catalyst for other residents here at Greenwood Village South, but just other people in general that listen or watch the show, and kind of take this as, this is my prompt to take that first step. Like we said, just get started. So with that, ladies, again, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you sharing so many precious memories and stories, and hopefully some more to come. Maybe we can do a part 2 where we pull in some other members or some new members of the Memoir Group on a Memoir Group Part 2 episode. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.